Hey guys, I haven't done a YouTube tutorial in, man, been a long time. And even then when I did them, they weren't the greatest. So if you've watched any of my previous stuff, I'm going to apologize now. But one of my members of my Silhouette for Lasers group asked me how I did a certain Easter tag. And so since I haven't done a tutorial in forever, I felt that this would be a perfect excuse to do one. So as you see in the picture, the back layer is pink, and then I scored the name to help me line it up. And then I cut the names out of white acrylic, and then I scored the details of the letters where they overlapped to add, I guess, that detail, because without it, I'll show you what it looks like without, but you lose a lot of that detail and it kind of just like meh together, if that makes sense. But it makes it a lot easier to read and a lot, like, it just kind of makes it look more finished. And it's not really that hard to do. So I just wanted to show you how I actually do it. So let's jump right in. So here I have my Easter tag, and these are actually available in my Etsy shop as well. There's a small bundle that has 4 different styles, and then I have a large bundle as well that has a bunch of different styles with different like scoreline details and that kind of stuff. So I have the little, girl tag, I guess, with the bow, and so now we're going to type out our name. And type out Harley. It's my friend's daughter. And then I'm going to change the font to Mango something. I always get it wrong. It's like Mango Spicy or Spicy Mango. Mango Salsa. That's not it. Mango Sticky. See? Every time I get it wrong. And then I actually need to change these to capitals. And then I need to spell it correctly. Okay, there we go. So now I'm actually going to ungroup the letters. Let's zoom in. And then I'm going to nudge them all together so that they have a good overlap. That's good. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on the A, and then nudge the rest. I probably should have covered how I hold down my left mouse key and drag. That's how I select everything. So now I'm going to hold down Shift and unselect the letters we've already done. Nudge over the L, unselect the L. The E has to go a little further. Unselect the E and move the Y. All right, and then once we get it where we want it, I'm going to group it. Let's zoom back out, and then let's size it right. And then I want a little bit of an overlap. Okay, I want to take this side in a little bit. All right. And then I'm going to center that. That's the wrong one. There we go. Okay. And then to help, because this Harley, in the font that I like and the way that I like how it looks, it's going to be a little thin or fragile. If you notice on the final version, pay attention to the white acrylic, and that alone would be a little too fragile. And actually, the reason I made this tag like this is because the original version, I did just have her name with no offset supporting the name, and she broke it. So she's 4, she's rough on everything, just like my son. So I wanted to make something that was a little bit stronger, that her mom didn't have to worry about her daughter breathing too hard and breaking it. So before we do all the node editing to get the details of the letters, I'm going to actually select the name, and then I'm going to create an offset Don't mind my pop-ups. Okay, so I actually like the size and weight of this offset, but I'm just going to reduce it a tiny bit. Let's go down to 100. Let me try 110. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so then...
This might answer your question. According to Wikipedia,
what?
Earth is the planet we live on. It is the third planet from the sun.
Hold on.
It is the only planet.
Alright, sorry about the little... I can't say her name because she'll come on again, but the little robot interruption. Anyway, so now that I like this offset, like size and weight, I'm going to hit apply. And then I'm going to actually right click and release compound path. And that will make it so that I can select this little piece in here and delete it. So click off, select that, delete. I typically delete all of those little pieces. I don't, it's a pet peeve of mine when they're left behind. And then I'm also actually going to edit the nodes. I'd rather this not go dip down in here. So I'm going to double click that. I'm going to add one probably right here. And then I'm going to delete this one. There we go. I like that a little bit better. I'm actually going to delete one more and see. Yeah, that's good. And then I'm going to select this one. So where it's overlapping off of this Easter tag, I don't want that. I want it to end in this oval area. So I'm going to bring this one in a little bit, and you'll see why in a second. Bring that one in, this one in. Don't mind the Dropbox updates from my husband because he's also working. Okay, delete that. Bring that in. Okay, and then now, let me zoom out a little bit. My score lines for the details and the bows, I'm actually going to, they're grouped right now, so I need to ungroup it so that I can weld this offset to the actual tag. So ungroup there, and then I'm going to click off and then select the Easter tag and the offset, and then I'm going to right click, weld. There we go. And then I actually don't love how this looks, so I'm going to edit that a little bit. So I'm going to add a node here. And then I'm going to delete these until I get there. There we go. And then, let's see, is there anything else we need to adjust? I think that looks good. So I'll show you why we're actually adding the score lines and the detail you kind of lose if I was just to go ahead and weld these without actually adding that score line detail. So right click and weld. And while it looks okay, it is still legible. Some names are going to be a little bit harder to read, but this just, especially here and here, no, those are going to be like tiny little score lines, so it's not going to add really that much detail, but you'd be surprised how much it makes a difference. So I'm going to undo that, and then I'm actually going to copy and paste in front. So right click, copy, right click, paste in front. And now I'm going to weld the back layer. So I'm going to drag, and that's going to select both layers. And then I'm going to hit Shift and then click on that, and that's going to unselect the top layer, which is perfect. And then I'm going to right click and weld. And so now, if you saw the little change, so we have that back layer is welded, and you'll see why in a second, why we need both. And then this front layer has all the score lines. And so that's where we'll go in and node edit and delete all that extra stuff. And so that back layer ends up being your cut line, And then this front layer that we're going to edit is going to end up being your score lines. So now I'm going to select that layer, and then we're going to ungroup it. So I want the H to be the front layer, front letter, and then the A behind that, and then the R behind the A, the L behind the R, etc. So I'm going to remove the lines of the A that overlap on the H. So usually zoom in pretty well. That's a little too far. Okay, and then double click this to open up the node editing panel. Okay, and even recording this tutorial, I did it the wrong way. I actually went through and deleted the part of the A that overlapped. But what we actually need to do is we need to, let me zoom in. We actually need to delete the rest, everything from the H except the part that we want the score line to be. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then hopefully this will make sense why in a second. So I'm going to double click the H to open the node editing panel, and then I'm going to click here and hit break path, and then there's actually a node where we need one, so I'm going to hit break path there, and then I'm going to not delete that one. That's the one we want to keep. I'm going to click, let's click here, and then I'm going to just hold down, delete. There we go. So that's going to be our score line. So what I should have done before this is I should have changed the color so it would be a little bit easier for us to see. So let me go ahead and do that. Let me select and change all of these to black so that it's a little easier to see. And I'm holding down Shift and then selecting the line that we want. There we go. Now we got them all. Zoom out a little bit. Let's make that black. Okay. Zoom in. And it looks like that node that I made it actually, on the H, I made it actually a little too short. So I could either go back, but instead I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up to where it actually needs to be. Okay. And then pull it down a little tiny bit too. Okay, there we go. So now with the A, the part of the A that we want to keep is this overlap on top of the R. So this part of the A will be deleted once we delete everything but this. So double click the A. I'm going to add a node here and break path and add node here and break path. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these. Okay. And then don't forget to delete the nodes of the insides of the letters that have them as well. Okay. And then the R, again, we need to just focus on here. Oh, I forgot one. So let's select the L, click off so that we're not in node editing. There we go. Now that's black. Okay, so now with the R, because I want the R to be on top of the L, so I'm going to node edit or delete everything but this little overlap here. So double click the R to open node editing, add one there, click break path, add one there, break path. Now we delete everything else. And then again, don't forget the insides of the letters. Okay, so for the L, the only thing we're keeping is where it overlaps on the E. So double click the L, whoops. Break path. Click on that, break path. Start deleting. Right, and then we want to keep here because we want the E on top of the Y. So that was the L, right? We finished the L. Now, and also adding the different colors, it helps you see what you've already done, and it already is kind of coming, you know, coming together and looking nice and adding that detail that you lose when you weld it all together. So we'll zoom back in and finish the E. Add a node, break path. Add a node, break path. Okay. And sometimes you'll see that the path that I broke actually connected back together and I didn't notice. When it does that, it'll change from the red circle back to the gray square, which is a connected path. So I'm going to click on this one again and break it. And then I'm actually going to click on it and actually, oh, it's going to bring the wrong one. So see if you can see it connected again there, which it's very random, I feel like, when it happens, but it always happens when I don't want it to. So I'm going to add a node here. So sometimes what's happening when that connects again, because it's right next to each other, it's connecting again because they're so close to each other when you don't want it to. So now if I break path, oops, broke the wrong path. Okay, so I need to click on this one, break path, and then when I select it, see if I move this, it's going to move the wrong one. No, it won't even. Okay. That's not working either. Let's try something else. Sometimes you just have to try a few things until it starts to cooperate. So another thing, let me go back to make sure. Oh, it actually broke. Okay, so now that it's apart, we got lucky. I'm going to try and grab it before it connects. Aha! There you go. And then I'm going to click on this, delete those, and then I might need to, adjust that one a bit. Back to where it belongs. Nope. There we go. Super annoying when that happens, but I guess I'm glad it happened, so you can hopefully find a few ways to go around it. But basically, sometimes you can just create another little node and then break the path of a different node that's right next to it, and then drag the new node that you created to where you need it to be, since it won't let you break the one that you want to. Or I got lucky and they separated enough that I could kind of pull it apart and then delete that node. But thankfully it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen from time to time, and you just gotta kind of mess with it. So now I'm going to delete the Y because we don't need any details from the Y at all. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and group all of my score lines together. So I drug my mouse across and while holding down the left mouse key, I'm going to hold down Shift and unselect her name and the actual Easter tag. And then I'm going to group these. And then you'd want to make this whatever color you need to for score lines. In Glowforge, it doesn't matter. You can just select score on the actual order of operations. And in Lightburn, I have like a light green as my score setting. So before we finish, I also add a score line. I'll show you the original one. And this is the score line, and that just helps me know where to line up the name. And you'd think, I mean, it's not a huge offset, so it wouldn't really be that hard, but I have super OCD when the names inside the offset don't match, where it's either closer to the top or the bottom than it should be, because I'll see that this gap is smaller than the gap down here, and it kind of drives me crazy. So I'm going to add a score line just because it's quick and easy and should hopefully save you time in trying to line it up. So I'm selecting the Harley name And then I'm going to select internal offset. And I like to do an internal offset, especially of these, of 0.015. And that makes sure that none of it will be seen if I'm off just a tiny bit. So I'm going to click apply, and then I'm going to change that to black because that's what we have our score lines set to right now. And so if I select the H, and then I also need to select the detailed score lines because I haven't grouped those yet. Let's go ahead and do that. And then move it off. I grabbed the wrong ones and grouped it. Undo. Okay, so let's unselect the score line and then zoom in and select the actual red cut line. I think we're good there. Let's group that and find out. There we go. So now we have our score line on the actual Easter tag, and I need to change this to whatever my score color is as well so that they are the same and it all scores together. And then here's what you would cut out of the acrylic, and then you would set these little lines here to score, and then that will give you that detail that you need. So the score lines give you the detail you need, and then the offset actually gives you the strength that you need. So I hope that that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out or ask them in the comments, and have a good day. Bye.